Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Hunter Base Podcast. What do Maverick Hunters do when they're not hunting Mavericks? They go back to the base, recharge, and shoot the shit. I'm your host with the most, Zeromaster, and tonight I have a very special guest. He is the owner and operator of the Rockman-corner website, and also, I guess, an author, up-and-coming author as well. Do I have that right?
That's right.
That's right. It's we have Proto Dude with us, aka Brian. Brian, how you doing?
I'm doing great. It's Friday, TGIF. I'm ready to take a load off, man.
I hear you. It's been a long week. But yeah, so for my viewers who don't know who you are, do you want to go ahead and just give us a introduction to who you are and what you do?
Yeah, sure. My name is Brian. But better. And I run Rockman Corner, and I've been doing it for a little over 10 years now. And right now, I'm running a Patreon to help fund and collect rare pieces of Megaman history, things that are lost or things that need to be preserved or documented for the fans. So yeah, I'm a longtime fan, and this is it. This is what I do.
Me too. I wouldn't have gotten my helmet out for nothing. Then we'll see how long it lasts because it's a little tight on my head. But I just want to say to start off, I really appreciate what you're doing. There's a lot of lost relics in this franchise, and in a lot of gaming franchises. But Mega Man has some of the more odd ones that I've come across. Like I think I came across an ISO for like a Chinese PC game that has no screenshots. Yeah. It has no screenshots. It apparently exists, and this was like it was released in like '99 or something.
Yeah.
And I got the ISO for it. Apparently, I don't know, but back then I didn't know what I was doing, so I couldn't get it to run. But I have it somewhere on a disc somewhere.
Wow. Yeah.
So
there's quite a few of those, man. The Korean license ones. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll have to dig it up and send it to you because if it's good at anything, if somebody can data mine it or do something with it, then it'll be useful.
Yeah.
So I want to start off this with so the Rockman Corner had its anniversary last year, right?
Right.
10-year anniversary. So just a little bit of trivia about me. Obviously, I don't know if you could tell, I'm a big Mega Man fan. Around the same year, I celebrated the 10th anniversary of Mega Man the Abridged series. I used to do that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm not as proud of it now because of some of the stuff in it was a little risque, but yeah, I did. I started doing and some of my viewers don't even know this, so I'll just explain. I started doing like a little shorts series where I'm doing like the games, but like it's really just Mega Man interacting with a Robot Masters. So if anybody's interested in that, I will put a link in the description later. But I just thought it was kind of cool because I saw you post that, and I'm like, I'm not the only one who started 10 years ago doing something in this community. It's crazy, and your website is like it's so full of information. Like if I blank out and don't look for a week, I've already missed like tons of stuff. I find.
Oh yeah.
Like and anytime somebody, because in my community or in my circle of friends and people, I'm the Mega Man guy. I know all the weird, obscure stuff according to them.
Right.
So when they're linking me stuff from your website that I wasn't aware of, I was like, oh geez, I'm behind. So it's one of those things, but it's nice to talk to somebody else who knows a lot about this franchise, because for so long I thought I was just the only freak, and
oh wow,
apparently there's a lot of us. So all I had was me and the Mega Man knowledge base for a long time, so that was
it. Well, hey, we stick together.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and this has been a long going franchise for me. My username, I got it from a Mega Man fan website I created back in high school. And I ran it up until the end of college. So I think until like 2006 or 2007.
Wow.
So, and I'm 30 now. I just turned 30. So I don't know, a good like 6-7 years for that. And I don't know if it made an impact or anything, but it was one of those like old school sites that had like, you know, like tips and tricks and pictures and stuff, you know, good old 90s internet stuff.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, because those were the days. That's how you got the information back in the day, like fan sites. A lot of them are still around. and
Yeah.
of course taking images from Sprites Inc. and editing them in banners and stuff because they've been around forever.
Oh my gosh,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, so there is a couple of things I wanted to talk to you about, and then we'll get to questions at the very end because some community people gave questions. So I wanted to start off by talking with you. How did you get into this franchise?
Yeah. Gosh, it's such an unusual story. Like growing up as a kid, my parents forbid me and my brothers from ever playing video games.
Really?
Like, yeah, like we were not allowed to have a game console or anything like that. They were so concerned that it would really interfere with school. So my initial exposure to Mega Man was going to the library as a kid and seeing him on the cover of Game Pro and going, "Wow, that is the coolest looking guy I've ever seen." So yeah, I would borrow that magazine all the time and just kind of like draw the cover over and over, look at the screenshots and kind of imagine how that game played.
Mm.
And as it turned out, my cousin had Mega Man X and a Super Nintendo.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I got to go over to his house one day and I finally got to play it. And I was like, "Oh my god, this is the greatest thing ever."
It's
Yeah,
it's great to hear that your first game was Mega Man X because that was my first game too. But
yeah.
I have a slightly more hilarious and overly Canadian story because I'm Canadian. Um, so my dad made my brother and I play hockey, and I mean I like playing hockey because Canadians, it's in our blood. And so, but he had a deal that we could choose because we had just gotten a Super Nintendo. I think it was like 6 or 7 when I started
Mm.
playing it because we had just gotten the Super Nintendo from Santa, and he made us a deal. He's like, every goal we score in an official game, he would either give us $5 or a video game. And us
What?
not being complete morons, we would pick the video game every time.
Yeah.
I was not very good at hockey, so I barely ever scored, but my brother would score all the time, so he had way more Super Nintendo games than I did because he would just get them. But we would share them anyways, and we still
Yeah.
do to this day for most of our stuff. So though in his opinion, Mega Man X is his game, it's not mine. So, but I've got 3 million other different versions of it, so it doesn't matter at this point.
Right.
So one of the games we got, and at this point, this would have been like mid '90s. So the Super Nintendo was out and the N64 was in, but we
Mhm.
didn't know that because all we have is Super Nintendo. So my dad would get games secondhand at like a store called Cash Converters. Essentially, it was just a little hawk shop.
Yeah.
And one of the games we ended up getting, one of the first games we ended up getting was Mega Man X, and that was my introduction. And I remember like we were just terrible at it originally. And one of my friends who was the rich kid who had everything. He had internet and dial-up internet. So we would print off codes from the internet or just boss weaknesses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's how we learned about the Hadouken and all this stuff. And that's what it was back in the day. If you didn't have a magazine subscription, you better hope you have internet, and you better hope the website doesn't take 40 million years to load. Oh my god, I could only imagine. Like, it's interesting that your first experience with Mega Man was on the front cover of a magazine because of what your parents wouldn't allow.
Yeah.
But so did you did you eventually get your own console, or was it one of those things where eventually like, okay, you can have a video kind of thing?
Oh, haha, this is great. My grandparents, without consulting my parents, just one day decided to buy me a PlayStation. And, my parents were really pissed. They're like, "Oh, now he's never gonna do, homework again, blah, blah, blah." Spoiler, I did do well in school.
That's
Um, yeah, so I got a PlayStation, and, one of the first games that I went to go buy with my own money, at the time was Mega Man 8, and Mega Man 8 was the first Mega Man game I owned. And yeah, I mean, it was great.
that makes me very excited because I know you and I haven't talked before this, but I do game reviews primarily on my site. And last
Yeah,
year I finally did my review on Mega Man 8 that I said I was going to do for years and years.
yeah.
And I'm very proud of that video, and it's been one of my more popular videos of the year. So
Oh, well,
I've
congrats.
been, yeah, I was really happy with how it turned out. I mean, I spent a little extra time on it because, and this is something that I can kind of transition into because one of the first reviews I did was on Mega Man 7 because it's personally my favorite game in the entire franchise.
Yeah.
But at the time when I did my review, I think this was back 2000 and this had to be like 2008, 2009. It was not very well received. Outside of the Mega Man community, like whenever I mere mentioned the game, I would basically be gotten with like scoffs or like be like Mega Man 7. That's
Yeah.
not on the NES, stuff like that. So
Yeah.
there's this like stigma of 7 and 8 for a long time, which I think has changed now.
Mhm.
But I remember I did my review on Mega Man 7, and it actually at the time, because YouTube was still a smaller thing, a lot of people saw it, and a lot of people had decided to change their mind, and now it's like more regarded as one of the better games in the series.
Oh, definitely.
Like, let me put it this way: Bronto Floss's Mega Man 3 with lyrics, or 2, I can't remember which one it was, came out around that same time, and one of the lyrics was 7 sucks big dinosaur balls. That didn't help anything.
No, it didn't. 7 is fantastic. I love it.
And I've been saying for years that eight's good too. It's just a little different and whatnot. And then eight has also been getting a lot more love too, even before I did my review. But then I did it, and a lot of people messaged me and said, hey, I just got Legacy Collection. I tried 8, and you were absolutely right. The game is fantastic. It's rough around the edges in some spots, but it's a great game.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting that was your first pick, because that wasn't my first for the PlayStation, though I have a funny story about the PlayStation we'll get to later.
Oh boy, yeah.
But yeah, Mega Man 8 is a really fun game. And how did you feel going into the franchise for the first time, outside of playing Mega Man X at your relative's house?
Yeah. Well, first, like, I was kind of confused, like, who was Mega Man? What's the difference between Mega Man and Mega Man X? Because at the time, X was my only exposure to it. And I could have gotten X4, but it was sold out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was like playing it after playing Mega Man X like a couple times at my my cousin's house. I was like, oh, why can't I jump up walls? And there's no sub tanks, or this is really hard. Why are there only 4 bosses?
I feel like we had similar upbringings when it came to this franchise, because my first game in the original series was 7. We had gotten there used to be a rental place that had it, and my brother loved so much he bought it from the rental place. But it was one of those things where we first played it, like, this isn't anything like Mega X. It's like, why can't he go up the walls? Why can't he dash? Why can't he do all these things? Didn't clue in, because we didn't have internet at the time, that this is a different Mega Man. And like a lot of people, we thought the X meant 10. Because we're like, oh, well, this is 7, even though it came out 2 years after X, whatever. But that's the way everybody thought. I mean, there's even like old videos on the internet from like AVGN. He did like before Mega Man 9 came out, saying how he thought X was 10 too. Like, it's naming conventions, right?
Exactly.
But,
it's those Roman numerals,
Those Roman numerals got to confuse all the kids. I guess I'll segue real quick into since we're talking about PlayStation a little bit too. I have another very Canadian story for how I got my PlayStation and Mega Man X4 and 5.
Oh, I love this.
So in Canada, we have. I assume you're from the States, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Missouri.
that's what I figured. So yeah, okay. So in Canada, there's a store called Canadian Tire, and it's just like a hardware store / like body shop stuff for your car kind of store, that kind of thing. But every time you make a purchase, you get Canadian Tire dollars, or Canadian Tire money, I should say, because the money comes in multiples of 5 cents, 10 cents, 25 cents, 50 cents, and $1, and they're all bills. So imagine carrying, like, people complain about change. Imagine carrying like 50 cents in bills. So my dad had about a stack. He went to Canadian Tire so much, he had a stack about this high of Canadian Tire money, and that would probably equate to about maybe $100. And the PS1 had come out, and Canadian Tire had it, and so he used that wad of Canadian Tire money to get us a PS1. And we were each allowed 2 games. So at this point, PlayStation games had gone down to $20 a piece. So my brother chose Sydney 2000. I chose was it Rock'em Sock'em Robots Arena, which is also a really good game.
Always wanted that.
It's a really good game. I'm gonna review it at some point.
Cool.
And we were just like, and then at the time they were selling, they were repackaging all the Mega Man games on PlayStation with those little sticky feet clock things. I
Yeah.
used to have one. I can't remember where it is. I think it's long gone. So he got X4 and I got X5, and because we were just like, we had rented X2 and X3, but we never played any of the other games other than X or 7. So getting to play it on PlayStation was a whole nother thing. And oh my god, like they're different games, obviously. Like X is a fantastic game. I know that game like the back of my hand. I could probably beat it in 45 minutes if I tried hard enough. But like X4 and X5 is like a whole new world. And since you started with PlayStation, did you ever eventually like you said X4 was sold out, so I assume you probably got PlayStation earlier than I.
Oh yeah. Gosh, 97, 98. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the PS2 was out when we got ours. So.
Oh wow.
So it really X4 was sold out. I didn't realize that Mega Man was that popular back then.
Yeah, it was God, what was it? Do you remember Toys R Us? Or I don't know if it was.
Oh yeah, Toys R Us is still around here.
Man, I am so jealous. But you had like those little pamphlets, the piece of paper you had to grab, and then you bring it up to the desk, and then they would give you the game. Yeah, there's X4 had no little pamphlet things. Gone. Yeah.
And I know that like I've read up on stuff because back then, like we were always generation behind because my family didn't have a ton of money, so they would always go for the cheaper systems. But like I remember reading online as like I got into high school and stuff, and internet was more available to me. Different things about the series I didn't know about. I didn't know there were Saturn releases of X3, X4, and X5. Like I had no idea.
Yeah.
I don't know if X5 actually had a Saturn. I can't remember, but
nope.
Maybe it didn't. Okay, so but it was but it's just interesting. It opened up a whole new world getting that community because I didn't get internet till 2001. So and that's when broadband just started to become a thing. So my good old free custom built computer my parents bought from a local computer shop that had Windows ME on it. 3 days later, XP was released. Like, I dealt with that piece of crap for years, and that was my way into the internet and seeing like how big this franchise was. So another thing I wanted to ask you about is, and probably a topic that a lot of people, more of the hardcore, I guess, fans would be interested in. I guess maybe less so now because of the whole Legends 3 controversy. But you're writing a book on Legends. Can you tell us a little bit about your book?
Yeah. So like Mega Man Legends, like it has always fascinated me. Like it came up before Ocarina of Time, and it did so much for 3D gaming that I feel like people don't quite appreciate it enough. So the book, I want to trace the origins of that, like what inspired Capcom to pursue this route. Why a whole new Mega Man? Why not make a classic game in 3D? So I want to unearth everything that I can about the development process behind Mega Man Legends 1, and just kind of find out what was going on in their heads at the time. I got a couple connections with some of the developers back then that I'll be interviewing. Yeah, and that'll be in the book. I got a lot of concept art materials to scan to put in there. But yeah, the core of it, just kind of talking about the development of the first Mega Man Legends and how it's such a monumental piece to gaming that really needs more attention.
Yeah, and I really wish it did because the Legends series is some of the most interesting. They're some of the most interesting games in the entire franchise. And I think a lot of people didn't play them because they couldn't get over the controls. I know that, and my first introduction to the Legend series was through Mega Man 64 because that's what I asked for my birthday one year.
Oh, nice.
And that technically has the worst controls. Worser control. That's not a word. Worse controls out of the two versions.
Yeah.
So but it was one of those things where like back when I was a kid, I just got used to it. I'm just like, well, this is the way the controls have to be, so I have to do it that way. And that's around the same time getting in the internet and learning what tank controls were, because that's what the Resident Evil fans would use to talk about their control schemes.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
But Legends blew me away. There were only two 3D adventure type games that I completed on the N64, and that was Ocarina of Time, which is one of 3 Zelda games I've completed. One of those being a CDI game,
Oh
and
no.
Mega Man Legends. And Mega Man Legends, I actually, not in my first playthrough, but another playthrough later, also on the 64, I 100%ed it. So it was one of the few games I actually went out and got 100% of everything. That
Nice.
and Ocarina of Time were 2 games that like I was just like I wanted everything. So
Mhm.
and I liked that they focused more on the exploration than pick a boss, fight a thing. And that's fine. Obviously, people still like that. Mega Man 11 is doing very well.
Yeah.
So obviously people still like that, but it's a series that I felt like didn't get enough time in the spotlight. And I think it mostly was because probably I don't know if it's sale. I don't know how well the sales of that game did, but I'm pretty sure it's not nowhere near, say, some of the NES games.
Oh
I,
no. Yeah.
yeah,
Far from it. It's a miracle Legends 2 even happened.
yeah.
Really. Yeah.
So I'd like to transition a little bit then again to what some fans dub the either the dark times or the Great Mega Man Purge, and that's
Oh
starting the
yeah.
timeline with the development of Mega Man Legends 3 up until around and after the 25th anniversary.
Mhm.
Um, so as for those of you who don't know, I think it was back in I want to say 2010, 20. I'm trying to remember
Yeah.
what year they announced they were working on Legends 3. I
I think it's 2010.
think it was. I
Yeah.
know they canceled it 3 days after my birthday. That's all I remember.
Worst birthday ever.
Yeah, exactly. But I remember, and this was before people got to understand. This was before Kickstarter. This was before crowdfunding. Before any of that stuff. That they announced that they were going to make the game, and KG and Afane really pushed for this game and for community involvement. And I don't think they did a bad job involving the community. I think the biggest problem there was communication. Um,
Yeah.
because there was a lot of stuff like this is still like Twitter's new Facebook being used as a social media platform outside of just adding your friends was a new concept. YouTube was technically new at this time still, even though it had a few years, at least 5 years under its belt. So its social media is not like it is now, like it was then, like it is now. So getting the word out was not as easy, but it was one of those projects where it was one of those times where the Capcom Unity section for Mega Man Legends 3 was one of my saved tabs in my browser because I would check it literally every day
Yeah.
because I wanted the game that bad. And a lot of people are there with me. Actually, a really good friend of mine, and I'll have a question from him later. Jacato X. He's a Twitch streamer, and I think he's even more into Mega Man than I am because at that time the 3DS was still $300 and he had bought a 3DS saying, "This is what I'm going to play Mega Man Legends 3 on." So
I
he's
had
also
this.
insane and has more money than brains,
Yeah.
I was even like, I can't spend $300 on a handle. That's too much. But it was one of those things to think about too. Like this was early in the 3DS's life before it really caught on.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
part of me feels like maybe they jumped the gun a little too quickly on it, and if they had waited a little bit, it might have done better. And also on top of that, um, I don't know what is went on behind the scenes at Capcom back then, but they had all these projects and they just started axing them one at a time.
Yeah.
And maybe you know a little more about that because you know more of the ins with Mega Man.
Yeah. Yeah.
But do you have anything you want to share in terms of
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. Yeah, that was kind of an awkward transitional time for Capcom. They really wanted to position themselves as the Japanese like EA. They
Mm,
wanted to become one of the top like AAA studios, and at the time they really invested a lot of their money into their larger projects.
mhm,
And internally, I guess they saw some of the smaller things, like Mega Man games, kind of like, eh. this really shouldn't be our focus. We should go all in with, say, Resident Evil 6 or, gosh, what was it, latest Dead Rising, and creating new IPs,
Yeah.
these blockbuster new IPs.
I mean,
Um,
at that time, like, and I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just figured I'd chime in real quick.
yeah,
At that time, I agree with you. Like, Capcom wanted to be EA. They wanted to have big AAA hits that would do well, not just in Japan, but North America.
yeah,
And that's why Resident Evil, like after Resident Evil 4, they really pushed the action thing for the next two games and then made a separate series just for action, like Revelations and stuff like that, because they wanted to have a hit,
yeah,
and so that they could make a new one every year. And I'm glad they didn't, because I wouldn't want a new Resident Evil every year, because while I'm new to the franchise, I really like 7 and I really like 2 remake, but I wouldn't want that every year. So I'm kind of
exactly.
glad it never did.
Yeah,
One other thing I just wanted to mention too is I just remembered one of the games I bought for my 360, which sadly is collecting a lot of dust because I don't play it that much, was Lost Planet, because I know often I had a hand in that, and there
oh
was
yeah,
rumors that it was a test game for a new Legends engine.
yeah, yep,
So that was me. I'm like, well, if I buy this game, maybe they'll make Legends 3. that
right,
was my that was my thought process. So
yeah,
I have all 3 Lost Planets and still Legends 3.
yeah,
But um going back to what you were saying, yeah, that's one of those things that you could definitely tell they were trying to be bigger, maybe too big than
yeah,
that too ambitious, I would say, maybe.
yeah,
Um and Yeah, it's one of those things where they like because I was so surprised they had so many Mega Man projects at the same time,
yeah,
because usually they maybe have one or two, except when maybe stuff like Battle Network and Star Force was really popular. Um,
right,
I know they pushed that,
yeah,
but it this was the period that, like, we started, like, I'm trying to remember what game it started with, because I started to get concerned. They axed one of the projects. It wasn't Legends 3. They axed something. I think they axed one of the other games first,
hmm.
and then I started to get concerned because I'm like,
Universe was first. That was the first on
Universe.
the chopping block.
That was
Yeah.
that was so sad, because even though I had mixed feelings on that, my buddy Jacato, actually, I'm jealous because he got to play it at a convention
Oh
before
man.
it got
Yeah.
axed. Um, I was actually really excited for that game because it looked like a cool concept,
Yeah.
kind of a weird crossover level building kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I was one of the few people that was vocal about liking the art style. I know
Mhm.
a lot of people hated it, but I thought it was different and unique. You know?
I really liked it because it like one of the things I thought of was we didn't really have like a Mega Man game that took advantage of the hardware, and it felt like that game really was.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and I really like the way they did the level design and stuff, and I'm like, this would make really good for a new style Mega Man game. And then eventually we got 11. But that was kind of that's kind of what got me thinking. I'm like, okay, Mega Man can work
Oh yeah.
in this new HD era that we're in. Um so when that got axed, you were vocal about it. When the other games started to go, what was your thoughts as slowly they were getting rid of games in their
Yeah.
roster?
Well, definitely it was like, this isn't good. What's going to become of Legends 3? And eh, about a week before that happened to Legends 3, a buddy and I noticed that they took down Legends 3's banner from the Japanese Capcom site, like the homepage.
Ooh,
Yeah, and that's the same thing that happened to Universe a few days before Universe was officially canceled.
okay.
And that's when we're like, okay, we got to kind of rally some people together. And that's kind of how 100,000 Strong for Mega Man Legends 3 started, was us noticing, okay, something's going wrong, might be canceled. Let's show some support. So we started writing letters to Capcom and saying, like, please don't cancel it, please don't cancel it. And while our letters were en route, we got the official notice that Legends 3 is canceled.
The thing that was so strange to me is they really, really, really near the end pushed this prototype
They did.
that they
Yeah.
were going to sell, but like the fan base was so hungry for it that we were going to buy it. Like, and that was the thing. Like, it was one of those things. Like, if they had a pre-order, like my money would have been. You couldn't put the money fast enough in my 3DS, essentially.
Yeah.
At that point, and it's funny because like days before they canceled it, they were on like a Japanese talk show or something, showing footage of the game. I
Yes.
remember
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
specifically, and I'm like, okay, well, this
Mhm.
is still happening then because they're putting promotion money into it.
Right.
And I was like, okay. I was like, please don't cancel it. It was my thought
Right.
in my head, and
And they were getting ready to do a public demo event too, but the event was canceled because of the earthquake, the
oh
2011
yeah,
earthquake. Yeah, which we have also theorized is partially responsible for why the prototype was axed. That really stalled a lot of game development at the time. Gosh, it was Marvel vs. Capcom 3 DLC. It was like put behind schedule because of that, and
don't get me started
yeah.
on Marvel vs. Capcom 3. That was that was
Yeah.
a. I'll make it very brief. I was a college student, didn't have a lot of money. I bought Megaman, sorry. Marvel vs. Capcom 3 day one for the price of $90 in tax because we get gouged for games here in Canada.
Oh god.
And 3 months later, they announced all features that were going to be in the game, such as spectator mode and new DLC characters were going to be in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
Yep.
So my trust was getting shaken in Capcom at that point. So when they started canceling the Mega Man games, I might have went a little crazy because um, they make a lot of my favorite games. So
Yeah.
it's
Here,
kind of
here.
hard, it's kind of hard to support somebody who keeps hurting you, kind of. And so I didn't play a lot of their stuff for a long. I actually for a while I refused to buy any brand new games until until a new Mega Man game was announced and released,
Mhm.
and a fighting game comes out from them that wasn't trying to take all my money. So luckily, those two things happened. So
Yeah.
uh, that changed everything. But yeah, I think that was the biggest blow, Legends 3, because I'm like everybody thought like this one's gonna happen
Mhm.
because they're really pushing this prototype, they're putting all this stuff but like backing behind it. Let me ask you though, if you think if the earthquake hadn't happened, do you think they would have still canceled the game?
Had the earthquake not happened, I believe we would have seen prototype version come out, but not Mega Man Legends 3 itself. There was a lot of stuff riding on the game, and without Inafune really there to push it, to kind of push the top brass to greenlight the thing, it wouldn't have happened. Um,
Because he had quite a bit of saying power
he
in
he
Capcom at
did,
that point.
he
Yeah.
did, but he really wanted more. he I it's not exactly, like, confirmed this is fact, but there were a lot of murmurs at the time that he really wanted his own, like, studio, kinda like his own Hideo Kojima studio.
Mm,
Kojima Productions. He wanted his own, like, Inafune production, like, wing.
okay.
Yeah, where he wanted his name front and center, um, but Capcom wouldn't budge, and hence he left and started his own company.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah.
And let me just ask, because this is one of the games that was around the time. What do you think of that leaked Maverick Hunter
Oh,
game, the first person shooter?
like, the concept of a first person shooter Mega Man game is neat, but, like, just the style they were going for, the ultra realistic, no. It was just it was really with that mindset Inafune had that, to appeal to the West, we have to have a Western aesthetic, you know?
I'm a little different, and I don't like first person shooters. I'm one of those guys who doesn't play Call of Duty, though
Yeah.
ironically I play Overwatch. Um, but I was actually, to be honest, like while I
Mhm.
wasn't a big fan of the art style, I was like, I kind of want to try that. I want to give that a shot. Maybe this will open me up to newer first person shooters, but obviously it wasn't meant to be. Now,
Yeah.
one thing I did want to ask you just quickly, I know I'm jumping around a little bit here, but has anyone been able to find a leak or something of the Legends 3 prototype? Like, is there anything out there that you found?
No, but there is a very strong possibility that they printed the demo onto cartridges, physical cartridges for that demo
Oh.
event that was canceled. So it may exist in physical form. Uh, who knows? Years from now, maybe we'll see it on Yahoo auctions or something like that. But
Yeah, because I got to thinking this today when I was at work and I had nothing better to do. I'm like, they showed Legends 3, the prototype version, on that show, on that Japanese talk show. So a card of it somewhere must exist, like a prototype piece or something. And I'm just waiting for the day that Hard for Games comes across it or something like that. Because I don't know if you know their YouTube channel, but they're all about finding prototypes and dumping them and backing them up and all this stuff. So
that's awesome.
And they found some weird ones. Like they were some of the early people who uncovered Zelda stuff, if you know about that whole thing.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And they found a Mega Man Legends prototype for 64. It's a prototype, but it's really the full game.
Oh yeah, the debug version, I think.
Yeah, with maybe a couple of like spelling mistakes and whatnot, but they found it, and the cart's like this tall because the board is like just sticking out of it. But I remember when they did that video, I was like, oh my god, they found a prototype of Legends. I'm like, maybe Legends 3 someday.
Lord, I hope so.
I like if you don't get your hands on it first, those guys definitely will at some point. I think it is out there in the ether. I just hope somebody, Capcom, who maybe has it in a drawer somewhere, please.
Yeah, please.
Please.
Put it in a bottle and float it over to America. I mean,
exactly. And it's one of those things where I feel like if it does exist, we're going to see it in an auction in the next 5 to 10 years because that stuff doesn't stay hidden for long.
Yeah, definitely.
And the only thing that I am concerned about is that because around the same time these games were being axed, it kind of sounded like Capcom was really, really trying to distance themselves from Mega Man. And I just hope that somebody didn't like say, well, Inafune left our company, so we're going to delete his game. You know what I mean? Like get rid of all the data or code. I don't think they'd be that malicious, but I have heard that people in business in Japan they can be ruthless. Like if you're doing good work for them, you know, you get the pat on the back or whatever. But if the first time you mess up, you know, or if you mess up like even a little bit, that's considered like dishonor or whatever, or if you leave or something like that. So, but their work ethic's very different from ours. So it's one of those things where I don't know how much to believe, but it's one of those things where I think I was just so upset and angry at the time that I believed that they were that malicious, that they would just destroy anything just to get back at him for some reason.
Yeah. I hope not.
My hope as well is not, and I'm older now, so I know that that's probably not the case, but it was always something that's in the back of my mind. But probably the one that was like that I still had a glimmer of hope was just before they canceled Rockman Online, because that one actually was close to being done. It was tested. It basically, the reason I was excited is because it looked like Mega Man X8, but online is what it was. And I'm like, that sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
And I was just saying, I'm like, okay, it's not Legends 3, but at least we're getting this, and then that gets killed.
Right. I'm honestly surprised, like, we haven't seen assets from Rockman Online come out, because it was very much completed.
There's probably someone who has like an early version somewhere in Korea or China that has a copy.
There was public beta testing, but no one really talked about it or were allowed to. But
I mean, the Asian testing for games, because I'm also a huge fan of Monster Hunter. It's one of my favorite franchises next to Mega Man. And I've played the beta for Mega Man Online. I had to jump through hoops to make it work, but I played it. So there wasn't a lot of information on it. I had to go digging to get this. So they're very, very tight-lipped, I think, about prototypes specifically for PC games, I think, because I think PC is probably the easiest data mine and to get copies of, obviously, because it's all digital and they're for computers. So that's one less step you have to do. So that could be a factor as well. But I remember just there being very, very little information on this game. And it's not like Monster Hunter Frontier is not a popular franchise in Japan. It's like people bought Xbox 360s to play that game. And nobody bought Xbox 360s in Japan. They couldn't even get people to buy Tales of Vesperia on the 360 to get a 360. So it's one of those things where Monster Hunter is just that popular that you'd think there'd be something, but there's not a lot. So
Right.
but I think around one thing I gotta say is during this whole time, Capcom USA had been great. Like they had been giving us information where we weren't getting information from the main company and stuff like that. And they even published that Street Fighter Cross Megaman game,
Yeah.
25th anniversary. And I know people have said it's just a fan game, but it's published by Capcom, so it's official in my books.
Yeah.
Even though it was, but it's and that was kind of that was to me it was like a consolation prize because at least like they're like, okay, it's a fan game that they're publishing, but it's like, you know what, at least it's a new game in the series, even if it's got to share it with Street Fighter, but same year anniversary. So
yeah, right. It's better than nothing, really.
Yeah. And so that is again was what I would call, or many would call, the dark times for the franchise. And that's when a lot more love and anger came out from the community. Obviously you talked about 100,000 Strong for Legends 3, or Get Me Off the Moon, same concept. And that's when I started getting into more of the community of Mega Man, because I'm like, I'm not the only one who wanted this game. Like I realized, like at that point, like, my Certbot number, I think I still have it somewhere, but it was like in the thousands. So I know that I was not the
That's
only
awesome.
who wanted this game.
Yeah.
And also somewhere I have my mighty number too, because I backed that on Kickstarter, an embarrassing amount of money.
Me too.
And actually, if it wasn't for you, I probably wouldn't have been aware of it, because you had been covering all the Capcom stuff happening, and I know they did a live stream for they did a live stream for, I guess, I can't remember if it was PAX East or where they revealed the game essentially. And that, like, I remember like sitting there watching this because I couldn't go to PAX, just being like, what is this? What are they going to announce? Like he's been hit, like, he's been talking about something, but what are they going to announce? And then when they showed that trailer and like that little teaser and whatnot, I got goosebumps. I was like, this is, I was like, a part of me is like, this is, yes, like, like finally something, so it's a spiritual successor, but it's like what I want.
Right.
It's just a jump and shoot man. It's just another jump and shoot man. So, so I was very excited, and I put an embarrassing amount of money into that Kickstarter, and I own 7 different versions of the game. So,
oh my gosh,
I'm actually looking up there my collector's edition of the Xbox One version. I didn't own an Xbox One at the time, but the only way I could get my hands on the collector's edition was getting an Xbox One copy off of Amazon. So I'm looking at it right there.
Oh my gosh, man!
Still in the box on top of my Kutku coin statue, because I'm a freak too. Also, I don't know if you can tell, but creepy Megaman in the back there. Just
I see it. Oh my god!
Just had to I put all my Mega Man stuff up in the back, but the lighting's bad, so you can't. Well, not all of it, but some.
I see it.
But yeah, Mighty Number 9 was like kind of like it was almost like a short revival, and the hype around this game was huge, and I think that's sadly one of the factors that kind of killed it.
Definitely.
Because I don't know how you feel about Mighty Number 9, but I'll say I think it's just average, but it has a lot of problems. So I actually have not completed it yet, despite how many versions of the game I have.
Oh man.
Because, and I heard people were beating it in like 3 hours. I'm like, you guys nuts? I was like, there must be I must be getting worse as a gamer, because I can breeze through the Mega Man games. I never had problems with any of them.
You are not alone. I have not beaten Mighty Number 9 yet.
And I found Mighty Number 9 kind of hard in stupid ways. Like one of the levels, half the first third of the levels, like basically spike gauntlets, like, and stuff like that. And Mighty Number 8 stage is a loop that if you don't hit them like in a very specific spot, you got to do the whole stage over again, essentially. But is one of those games that the hype really was too much, I'd say, but that's what those early Kickstarters needed. I mean, we're finally going to be getting Bloodstain. And I
Oh, I
played the
know.
little I played the little appetizer game that Inti Creates made, which, by the way, they're becoming one of my favorite developers. For those of you who don't know who Inti Creates are, they actually developed. I don't know if it was specifically them or people who worked for them developed like the Mega Man Zero series.
Yep, it was them.
And they developed Mega Man's 9 and 10. And they developed Azure Striker Gunvolt, Mighty Gunvolt, which has actually ended up being better than 9, and Blaster Master Zero, and a whole bunch of other games. I just reviewed Galgun 2 by them, so they make a whole lot of stuff. They're becoming one of my. They kind of feel like old Capcom, like older Capcom, like
Yeah,
made
a
the
bit
and stuff. But getting back to Mighty number 9, there's a few things that really kill it. Obviously, the final product was not up to snuff for a lot of people. And I know there are people who really like it. I talked to Reploid Revo, who's a Mega Man YouTuber who talks about lore and theories and stuff like that. And he likes the game. And I'm just like, you can like it all you want. I just think it's just okay. And I recently just beat Mighty Gunvolt Burst, which is what I would call what Mighty number 9 should have been.
Absolutely.
Because it's a much better game on top of everything else, but it innovates in ways that were a lot more creative, like the whole weapon system and whatnot. But that's a topic for another day. I'll probably review that at some point. Mighty number 9, for those who don't know, was a very successful Kickstarter. I think the original goal was $800,000. It made something like over 2 million. For its Kickstarter goal. And this Kickstarter was brand new at this time. This was one of the first video games that really made it successful. So there was a lot of hype around this game. And personally, I think what killed it was the second Kickstarter, which people were confused about. I still put money into it anyways because I'm a sucker. And the Red Ash situation. Now, I will say, I like the idea of Red Ash. I like the concept of Red Ash, but we didn't need 2 Kickstarters for it at the same time.
Oh, heck no.
And that just killed the goodwill with a lot of fans, because Mighty number 9 wasn't even out at that point. They were still working on it. And I know what they were trying to say, like, game studios work on more than one game at a time, but people don't see that, and you can't really explain that to the masses. So I think that's what the problem was. And also, like, Concept was a fairly new developer. They had helped in some games, like I know Ninja Gaiden Yaiba was one that did not do very well. It was was pretty highly criticized for its poor
everything
development. But so they didn't have a lot of stuff under their belt, and they didn't have a lot of good stuff under their belt. So it was looking pretty bad from the beginning. But I mean, maybe not in the very, very beginning, but as time went on, you could see the cracks starting to come through. I want to ask you as well, is when did you start to get that oh no feeling about Mighty number?
Oh gosh. Definitely right around the time of Red Ash was announced, just kind of like, okay, what about Mighty number 9?
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people were like, yeah.
Yeah, and they started showing, more screenshots, more video footage, and it was just like, that doesn't look much like that test footage you guys put out, like, what, day 1? And it was just very, very worrisome, just kind of feeling like Inafune and Co. bit off more than they can chew. Yeah.
I also think, again, and this was a problem with Mega Man Legends 3, is lack of communication.
Absolutely.
And it's so funny because Kickstarter gives you so much control to interact with your community. And maybe you could say Inafune didn't have a lot of control with the community when it came to Mega Man Legends 3, because it was still part of a corporation and he had to abide by their things. But there was literally no excuse for Mighty number 9's lack of communication, or the communication they had was poor. Like, I remember there was a controversy with a PR person or a community manager or something that people weren't happy about. There was the trailer controversy, the whole
Oh my god, yeah.
anime fan on prom night thing, which I thought was a funny, not funny joke, but a lot of people were pissed off about. And indie creators did their best to help them, but like it almost seemed like when the game came out, like there was no helping. Like they were basically just putting band-aids on the game. And
Yeah.
1.0. I remember 1.0 when it came out, not the beta. The beta I played and it got me more excited. I did a video on the beta even saying that I would cover the full game when it came out, and that hasn't happened. But I remember the beta, like a lot of people were like, this doesn't feel right or whatever. And I was like, this feels fine. This feels like what I expected, even though I found a glitch where what's his name, whatever that mighty number was, where he got stuck in the wall, in the top of the wall.
Oh god, yeah.
And I attribute that to because I was streaming the game from a laptop. So something probably barely able to run the game, plus I was streaming. So that could be why that glitch happened. But
Or
but
not.
I remember playing the demo or the beta or whatever, and like being reassured that okay, this will probably be fine. And then when 1.0 came out, there was a lot of glitches people were finding. Some things didn't feel like they did in the beta.
Yeah.
And just odd choices. Like I said, the level that the first third's a spike gauntlet, or ways to use the dash. And the dash gimmick didn't really work for me because I just wanted to shoot stuff. Like I think the problem
Same here.
is all of us had the idea that this is a Mega Man game, so we all played it like that. And that was probably one of the biggest problems with it, is that they really put emphasis on the dash or the data drain or whatever the heck they called it. Sorry, that's dot hack. It's when he does the thing, it looks like data drain, but
Yeah.
but like there was a lot of emphasis on that, and I'm like, I don't think that was a bad thing, but they just really, really pushed it. And I know, like I was saying, like one of the things that kept me away from the game is I don't want to do this anymore. I just want to play the game. And,
Exactly.
and I wasn't alone on that. A lot of people were like that. They're like, the dash was, kind of annoying, and that's why it's not a Mighty Gun Volt Burst, probably because it wasn't a fun mechanic.
No.
When the game finally came out, what were your initial thoughts?
The first thing that came to mind, honestly, was like, oh my god, it's X7 all over again. It just kind of felt really like unpolished and just like this needed a lot more work.
Yeah,
And it was just so frustratingly hard. Like the mechanics were fine, but just like the level design and just all these things that Mega Man got right, it somehow seemed to miss. And it's just like, you guys worked on Mega Man, some of the best Mega Man games.
yeah.
How did you forget to implement this or do that right? It was just so confusing.
Let me throw something at you.
Yeah.
What's when comparing Mega Man 2 and 3 outside of the slide, what is one of the biggest differences that you can think of just coming to mind?
Oh, that they left the debug in Mega Man 3 with controller 2.
Oh, well, that and but gameplay wise, is there anything that you can think of that is the biggest difference between them?
um 3 just a little bit more choppy, a little more slow down here and there.
I always find, and I've been playing 3 recently, I think the level design's not as good. And I
Mm,
think that's something that I don't think Capcom really got the level design until 4. And that was my initial thought with Mighty Number 9. I'm like, the level design is just not there. Like
no.
it's some levels are too long, some levels are too short. Some of them are full of death traps. And some of them, by the time I would get to the boss, I'd have no lives left and barely any HP. So I guess I'm not beating the boss.
Yeah.
Gonna spend another hour on that stage, I guess. But and that was the biggest deterrent for me for Mighty Number 9, because I was like, I wanted to play it, but the game almost didn't want me to play it, is what I felt like. And
Right.
it's I haven't played it recently, so maybe there's a patch that's changed things, but I just remember that game went down to $20 very quickly. Like I remember because I was waiting. I was waiting to get my Wii U copy because I when I did the Kickstarter, I asked for 2 copies, and I wanted the Steam version and the Wii U version because I really supported the Wii U.
Yeah.
And look how good that did for me. But and I remember the game was in stores for weeks. I still hadn't gotten my copies, my physical copies, and it was already down to $20, like within a month or two. At least here in Canada, it was. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, what the fuck happened? Like, what did they? What? Why is this $20 right now? Like, this was like people talk about Fallout 76 going down to $35. Like, this is the same. This is worse. Like, this thing like was out a month and it was already in the at EB Games. It was the 99, get 199 or under, get second one free bin. Like,
Yeah.
that's what it was going to.
It went.
And
Yeah.
it was just a train wreck. And I think one of the best videos I gotta say is my boy Derek from Stop Skeletons from Fighting probably said it best. If you haven't seen this video on Mighty Number 9, it's a fantastic video, and it goes over a lot of things, his theories why Mighty Number 9 didn't do as well as it did and why it had these problems. I'll leave a link to the description for anybody who wants to see that. But he basically said poor mismanagement, like poor management was one of the biggest problems. And I have to agree with that because as much as as much as they were ambitious and they were they were truly making the game they wanted to make, it almost felt like Inafune had too much control.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
that's probably why he wasn't given a higher position in Capcom, because they probably knew that he wasn't ready for it. And this is one of the things, like, I know people like are excited for Death Stranding, but I'm really, really, really concerned about it the more I see about it, because I'm like, I hope I hope Kojima knows what he's doing, because now he's unhinged, so he can do whatever he wants. And I'm just like, I just don't want this to be another Mighty Number 9. So
I know. I know.
And it's one of those things where I'm almost like, maybe these guys shouldn't be unhinged. Maybe they should have someone above them telling them yes or no. I mean, what has Concept done since? Not much.
Nothing. They've been absorbed into level 5, and even then, nothing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and the thing that probably hurt the most is, like, I know that the team wanted this to be something special, and in some aspects, I know Inafune wanted it to be like basically he wanted to get this one right. After what happened with Legends 3, he wanted to get this one right, and I just don't think anybody really trusts him anymore after that, because it's like, fool me once, shame on me; fool me twice, shame on you. And if he came out with a new project or whatever, like, now I'd probably still be interested in it, but it would be one of those things where I would not follow it like very closely, because I'm not convinced that he still knows how to make games good.
Yeah.
I don't want to be that guy, but I have several actually very good examples that he doesn't. So, if it's some odd way, Mr. Inafune, you're listening to this, prove me wrong. You've got the resources. Prove me wrong. But
yep, do it.
Yeah. But thanks for making Megaman, or being a big part of Megaman.
Here.
So I want to also switch gears to something that you were actually very influential on, and I actually mentioned this in my Mega Man 8 review. The seeds of Mega Man 11. You, I think, were one of the first people reporting on the image in Legacy Collection 2.
Yep.
And I remember seeing that and going, this is, I thought to myself, or maybe you said this in an article, and I thought it is like, this is either unused art or it's new art that they planted in. And my first thought is, well, it can't be option one, because unless they digitally recolored an old piece of art, which would be a lot of work for an old piece of art,
right?
They like it's too new. Like, it's digitally colored and line art's really like clean and stuff like that. It's like, it's probably not a piece of art for Mega Man 8.
Yeah.
And as it turns out, you were correct.
Oh yeah.
And like lo and behold, on the 30th anniversary stream, they announced Mega Man 11, which I own 3 copies of. But it's but Mega Man 11 was one of those games that when it was announced, I was cautiously optimistic because Mighty Number 9 had burned me so bad that I was
Mhm.
like, because I'm like, yeah, this looks great, new Mega Man game. Why is this reminding me of Mighty Number 9? Oh, 2 gear system. Ooh. I was like, I don't know how I feel about that. Um, what were your so I want to get what your thoughts were when one, you found out like, you were right about the whole it
Yeah.
being a new game thing, and two, when you first saw the trailer and got your hands on and then eventually getting your hands on the game.
Yeah, yeah.
Run me through that process.
Okay, so I got the review copy for Legacy Collection 2, played the games, went through the gallery. I went game by game. I started with Mega Man 8 because that's very nostalgic for me. And I saw that piece and I'm like, what the heck? And the first two things I recognized was one, this is not Mega Man 8 art. It's by Higurashi, who did Battle Network, and he clearly did not work at Capcom at that time. And two, this is digital line art, and everything in Eight's gallery is hand drawn, touched up by a computer, whatever. So I literally stared at it for like an hour, just kind of thinking, okay, what's going on? Like big hand, duo, but no, it's digital art. I kept going back and forth.
Mm.
So what I did was, I wasn't allowed to show my findings yet because I, under NDA for the review copy. So I wrote to my Capcom rep, who always answers every question I have about it, and they did not answer back. So that kind of like,
Oh.
oh, okay, what's going on here? And and then it got to the point where I'm thinking like, did they accident? Is there a Mega Man game in development? And they accidentally like mixed up some assets, and it just got into Legacy Collection 2. I don't know. So, game comes out, my review goes up, and I spent more time analyzing that art than reviewing the game and sharing my findings on Twitter and what have you. And that was just blowing up
Mhm.
all over the community and, elsewhere too. Like it got on Kotaku,
Yeah.
and yeah, and people there are like, oh, Mega Man fans are so desperate and crazy. This is clearly unused art. And I'm just like, no, guys, like this is my life here. I know what I'm talking about. you
Mhm.
know? And then, we get to that, fateful day where they revealed it. They had the reveal trailer, and they got to that part in the trailer where, Mega Man's using that power up. And I'm like, oh, there it is. I
Was
was
it like
right.
the meme where all the guys are going, "Oh!"
Yeah. Oh my god, it was amazing. And then, like, a couple minutes after that, there he was, the artist, they had him on, and he was talking about how, "Oh, it was amazing, someone noticed that it was me, my art."
Someone noticed.
Yeah, yeah. And then, minutes after that, the official Mega Man Twitter, called me out, and they're like, "Good job, congratulations," and, oh, it was great. And then yeah.
By the way, Mega Man, return my tweets. I have been publicly supporting your franchise online for 15 years now. Return my goddamn tweets.
Yeah. They're cool. I'll never
He's a
forget when I
real,
got
he's a real person.
yeah, yeah. When I got that Twitter notification that Mega Man is now following you, like, oh my gosh, I better clean up my act a little bit,
Mega Man, please don't watch Mega Man Abridged. I promise you, it's not good.
Oh god.
um,
So yeah, that was quite the journey. And then like a couple months ago, Arby's they sent me the little cardboard version of the power up, and I'm like, oh my god, this is just nuts.
Arby's Twitter is amazing. Like
Yeah.
them and Wendy's, like both of them are great. Oh my god! But one thing I actually just real quick about Twitter, I love how the Mega Man and Sonic the Hedgehog Twitter interact all the time, like they're best buddies.
Oh, it's so great.
We're like, wait, Sonic and Mega Man were real all this time? And then I remember I'm like, no, wait, I'm an adult, and these are just people using this account. And then I'm just like, no, just let me feel childhood joy for just a little bit.
Yeah.
So what about the game when it came out? What are your thoughts on Mega Man 11?
Gosh, so I got to play the demo first, and I couldn't wait to get home from work to like download it, what have you. Um, at first, I thought it was really, really hard. Like everything
Yeah.
else was great, presentation, music at the time, awesome. But
Mhm.
something did to me felt a little off, and I'm like,
Yeah.
that's just the demo. What's going on here?
I'm glad
Yeah,
I wasn't the only one again that felt that way.
yeah,
Because actually I was streaming because I stream twice a week, and I was streaming, and my friend, good friend of mine, Canadian Jutsu, who's also a huge Mega Man fan, actually, I got my start doing Let's Plays with him, and we're doing this Mega Man X marathon, and I'm at X7 now, so I have to play it. I don't want to, but I have to play it because
yeah.
we're all the way there. And he says to me, "What are you doing? Why aren't you streaming the demo of Mega Man 11?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's out. I should probably download." I think I was just really busy that day because of work.
Yeah.
And then I was like, he's like, "Oh yeah, I should play that." He's like, "Why aren't you streaming it like right now?" I'm like, "Okay, I'll stop playing Monster Hunter and I'll go download the demo."
Oh my god.
So,
Yeah.
so yeah, and I was the same. I thought it was kind of hard, and as I was playing it, I'm like, "Am I just doing bad because I'm streaming it?" And I was thinking, my buddies reassured me. They're like, "No, this looks kind of difficult." So
Yeah.
I was like, and of course, when the game came out, I breezed through Blockman stage because I played it so many times.
Yeah.
But and then
Yeah.
other stages gave me trouble. But yeah, I was still all it's funny because all my other friends were like, "This looks good. This looks fun." I'm like, "Aren't you excited?" I'm like, "I am, but remember how much money I put into Mighty Number 9?" They're like, "Oh, okay. I see why you're kind of skeptical." So I was just
Yeah.
I was skeptical. I was like, "It's like this game really has to like blow my socks off for me to enjoy it because I'm so burnt out at this point." And
Right.
I guess we'll just go back. Final game comes out. Your thoughts? I'll stop interrupting you. I promise.
You're good. So like you, I went like right to Blockman because I played the demo so many times, and it was I don't know playing that level for like the 100th time. It finally hit me that like Mega Man 11 has its own beat to it. You
Mhm,
know, it's different and it's trying very hard to recreate like the feel of the NES games, but it's not going to be perfect.
mhm,
So I kind of felt like I went in with my expectations way too high, and I just started looking at it for what it was. Like this is a Mega Man game being made so many years after 10 without a couple of the key players being there. A lot of new faces working on this. So I kind of took it for what it is, and that made me understand the game's identity a bit better to the point where I really started to enjoy it.
mhm,
Um, it's I really like 11. It's definitely up there with like one of my favorite Mega Man games, but I feel like the current team has a little more to learn
mhm,
about what makes a Mega Man game, what makes a Mega Man game feel so different from other 2D action games.
mhm.
And I hope they will take the experience from working on 11 and apply that to future games and beyond.
Apply that to X9.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
uh,
coming.
yeah,
I feel it.
I'll say I agree. Like it was a I think Mega Man 11 was it's not perfect, obviously, and
No.
obviously the fan base is going to be hard to impress because we have 10 other games before this, plus other games like the X series and whatnot, and the Legacy collections had just come out like a couple years before, or a year before, so like people were familiar with Mega Man again at that point. So there was a lot of expectations on it. Do I think it's the best in the series? No. Do I think it's the worst? Oh, far from the worst. Like it's a
Oh yeah.
great game. Like it's I can say that I love it because I bought it 3 times.
Yeah.
So and I've
It's
almost at a fourth time if I can get my PC up to speed. But it's one of those games that it definitely feels like there were some growing pains with the
mhm.
team working on it because this is I don't I can't remember. Was this all internal Capcom? Was this Capcom Development 1 or was this another team?
Oh, all internal. Yeah, this was all
All
in-house.
internal, yeah. So they haven't made done a Mega Man game all internal in a long time. Like again, 9 and 10 were made by Inti Creates. Like they developed
Mhm.
those games. So, and my initial thought was they were going to get them to develop it because they were so familiar with the franchise. But
Right.
they did it all in house. And for not programming or developing a game in that franchise in so long, I was fairly impressed with how good it was. And I do agree, it it was pretty difficult. To I say to anybody who's having difficulty with this game is if it's your first Mega Man game, it's totally cool to play on beginner or easy. That's
Absolutely.
fine. Unless your name's Oni Rikaku, and then we're just gonna call you a bitch because that's what we call him. He's like, I beat Mega Man 11. Oh wow, that was fast. Yeah, I played it on beginner. I'm like,
Oh my
you're
god.
familiar with the franchise. Play it on easy at least. But so we just like to make fun of him. Hi Oni. This gives me hope for the future of the franchise because does Mega Man 12 need to happen? Not necessarily. But if that's what we're gonna get, I would totally be happy with that. What do I want? Mega Man X9 and Legends 3. Are
Oh
we gonna
yeah.
get that? Probably not Legends 3. Probably not for a while, if at all. But X9 is one, like even my brother who's not big into the OG series, he's not the fan that I am, he's just really into the X series. He's like, well, Mega Man 11 came out. X9 is next, right? And he asks me every day, like, do you know? And I'm like, you have the internet too. You can look it up.
Yeah.
And of course, I've got your website tabbed. So
Right,
I'm
right.
checking it every day.
Oh man.
But yeah, he's become more somebody who's only peripherally knows the series has become more involved in it. It's brought the conversation back. And on top of that, I think the other thing too is just the love and creativity that the 30th anniversary brought it. Because
Mhm.
for those of you who don't know, Mega Man's anniversary is in December because the first game came out in December. So they basically got celebrated all throughout 2018. And I think I've retweeted more art and like more weird tweets from Japanese people than I've ever done in my life. There's actually a this one Twitter account, I can't remember what it is. It's a the guy's just got he's a Japanese guy that just has the Mega Man Nendroids, and I started posting them to my buddy Canadian Jutsu. So he started responding to us by sending us pictures of like Mega Man in a wedding dress and stuff like that.
Okay.
I have screenshots somewhere that we're going to talk about this during the Mega Man X7 Let's Play when it happens, about how we were completely weirded out, be like, why is he doing this? Why
It's so
are
weird.
Zero and X getting married? Like
It's
it's weird
super
stuff like that.
weird.
Just weird Japanese guy who just really wanted to make us feel weird, I guess. But that's what I'm talking about. Like this, the community really came together in the last year, and Mega Man 11 was kind of like a big celebration for a lot of us. And that's the kind of that's how the community has grown. Like we came from them canceling pretty much anything under the sun with Mega Man's name on it, to basically then like finally getting a new game and a wonderful 30th birthday for the Blue Bomber himself.
Yeah.
So it's the community has come a long way since the early 90s internet days. So, and like it's bigger now than I think it's ever been, especially because of people like you and and all the artists out there and all the people and whatnot. But it makes me very happy when I can when every time I open my Twitter feed there's something Mega Man related, because that hasn't happened in years.
Yeah.
So
It's
um,
beautiful.
it's amazing. So but yeah, like so let's just real quick close to the future. I know we kind of talked about it, but Legends 3, Capcom, please. Please. It's probably not going to happen for a while, but I mean there's stuff happening. I mean there's those new Street Fighter 5 costumes,
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
with Roll Casket being one of the costumes. So who knows? But they like to throw the legend stuff into the fighting games, so it could just be something else. I remember pre-ordering Tatsunoko versus Capcom because Megaman Volnet was in it.
That's the only reason I bought it. Yeah.
Like I mean I liked Marvel Tatsunoko and I like Capcom, but I'm like, you put Megaman Volnet in there, I'm okay with that. And also Roll was my main, so just sweeping the floor with them, literally. But yeah, so it's the 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 community is as strong as it's ever been, and we just keep getting stuff, like little hints here and there. And it's not just hints now. There's now um like games are happening, which is great. Like Mega Man 11 was just the beginning, I think, in my opinion. And
Mhm.
I'm expecting an X9. I'm pretty sure it's going to happen.
I can
Um,
smell it.
yeah. Is there something in the X Legacy collections that was in like the Legacy collections. That is like,
Oh,
because I
like
remember
a
there being a trophy for the secret image, and I'm like, what is the secret
yeah.
image?
That was the first thing I looked for when I got the game to
It's almost like
review.
they were baiting you.
It was, and there was nothing there.
Yeah.
It like they knew I was coming for it, you know? But, yeah, nothing there. The, secret images were those, like, wallpaper things you unlocked
Oh,
after X challenge. Yeah. Yeah.
which is actually kind of difficult. Like I was
Oh,
like fighting Chill Penguin and Frostwalter at the same time. This will be essential. No,
nope.
it's not that easy.
That's like the first one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, sorry. Yeah, thoughts on the series going forward?
So I yeah, it's in a much stronger position than it was years and years ago. I truly believe we have X9 coming next year. We'll probably hear about it at the end of this year. And I think if they want to keep Mega Man on a healthy path, they should not release multiple games a year, nor every year. uh, give players some time, to really like let word of mouth spread, let them enjoy the games for about like a year, leverage some DLC even, but let each individual game kind of have some life before it's replaced the following year. But
I agree
yeah,
because that's
oh
what shot them in
absolutely,
the foot in the first time. You know, having 6 Mega
exactly,
Man projects at the same time.
yeah.
Um, uh, just real quick though, what are your thoughts on them making another collection? Like a lot of people are anticipating another Zero collection, with the ZX games included, or some people are anticipating like a Game Boy collection with the Game Boy
Yeah, yeah,
games and Mega Man and Bass, stuff like
yeah.
that.
Gosh, it's such a promising time that we're living in that like almost any collection could happen,
Mhm.
really. Personally, I would love to see like a Legacy Collection 3 with all the things that they kind of missed in 1 and 2, including Mega Man and Bass. I mean, come on. But
Yeah.
yeah, like
I mean I own a complete in box copy of the Japanese version for SNES or Super Famicom.
oh yeah.
I've never beaten it because that game is like Mighty Number 9 might be hard. Mega Man 11 might be a little hard. Rockman and Forte is really hard. It's
It
really,
really
really
is.
and I remember talking to people being like, "Oh, there's this guy I watched who did a review, Exo Paradigm Gamer." He's like, "You know what? Mega Man Rockman and Forte wasn't that hard." And I'm like,
No baloney.
I don't live on the same planet as you.
Yeah.
but uh but yeah, like and the reason I lumped Mega Man and Bass in with the other Game Boy games is because the re-release that we got actually in English was the Game Boy Advance one. Also, I just want to see re-release of Mega Man 5 for Game Boy because that game is so good.
It's wonderful. Yeah. It's
Way
one of my
better than
favorites.
the NES Mega Man 5 because I don't like that game. And it's the only one on the NES I don't have. And it's like $200. Just give me the game so I can complete my collection. That's how I feel. It's oh, this, I'm trying my best. Sorry, I'm trying my best. I won't talk about Mega Man 5 again. Uh, I
Yeah.
have a personal vendetta with that game. Um, what about how likely do you think the prospects of Legends 3?
Right now, I still feel like Capcom are kind of playing it just a little bit safe. They want to definitely focus on Classic and X. Those two are the most like financially viable. Maybe a few years down the line, something could happen. But personally, I feel like we would first see a remake or a remaster of Legends 1 and 2, and maybe Tron Bond. They really got to build up more people to be excited and interested in Legends to make 3 viable.
A Mega Man Legends Legacy Collection, which sounds weird, so they'd probably just call it the Mega Man Legends Collection for like
Yeah.
Switch would be perfect because I know a lot of people who want to check out Mega Man Legends, but one, original copy is kind of expensive, though it has gone down.
Mhm.
More so for the second game. It's on the PSN, but it's kind of hard to find, and it's more expensive than the other PSN games.
Yeah.
Um, and people just want to play it on the go. They want to play it on Switch. So, I mean, if Breath of the Wild is any indication, people will play anything like on the go. So, I feel like if they do a Legends collection, which Capcom, please, I'll buy it again for the 6th time. That it would be great to have it on Switch. And I mean, I don't have the other two legacy or 4 legacy collections, I should say, on Switch. I have them on PS4, but it's not to say I haven't thought about getting them on Switch again, just to have them portably. And Legends, I think, would do great on the Switch because, especially now, because most people I talk to who maybe it's not the best selling version, but most people I talk to get the collections on Switch, so they can take it wherever they want.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I agree with you. I think another collection's coming before anything with that series, or maybe like even if they just remastered one. Like I'd like to see a remake of Mega Man 1. Mega Man Legends 1.
Oh yeah,
because that game is, as much as I love that game, it is rough. It is rough around the edges, and it is dated. Like it needs an upgrade.
Yeah, it does.
But it's almost like I'm almost trying to think of, is the franchise well off enough now that they could pull it off now? Because Capcom still like Resident Evil 2 remake only happened because people really, really wanted it and they asked for it for years. And it sold fairly well. So Capcom is still might not have as much faith in the Legend series because it's never been a big seller.
Exactly.
So,
yeah. They need like a Legends product to test the waters, so that's where the collection could come in. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But the future looks very bright for the
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't like. It's kind of embarrassing to admit, but I still weep manly tears anytime I see the Mega Man 9 trailer or hear Tornado Man's music because it was in the trailer. Like it gives an emotional response from me. Funny story. Failed my driver's test when Mega Man 9 came out. And then I had to take the one to get my full license 2 years later. Failed that one when Mega Man 10 came out. So let's just say 9 and 10 both were like comfort food at that point. So, but yeah, it's I've got lots of weird stories about this franchise, but I won't go in forever because there's a few things I want to ask you, and I want to get to community questions as well.
All right, let's do it.
First thing I want to ask you is what's your favorite obscure Mega Man game? And I mean obscure, like you ask I don't want to say the word normie, but somebody who's not as familiar with the franchise, maybe he's played a few of them before, like would make them go, huh? I didn't know that existed.
Okay. All right. I like this little one called Rockman Jump. It's one of those.
God.
Yeah. It's a weird mobile phone game, and I'm not talking smartphone, like mobile dumb phone game that Capcom released way back in like 2002. And it's just this like cute little thing to just play when you want to kill some time. It's literally just jumping from platform to platform to save roll.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah. And it's you can emulate it these days.
Oh, can you? Yeah. Okay, can you emulate Big 5 Island Adventure? Because last time I tried was years ago, and it didn't work for me. So
no,
yeah.
it's the way the game is built. It's because it's in parts and it's just a lot of other things going on.
Yeah,
and no one's really been up to the task of like hunting the rest of it down and sitting down and putting it together.
Yeah, well, to those who don't know, Mega Man Legends Big 5 Island Adventure was a Docomo exclusive Japanese cell phone game, and not, again, smartphone, but cell phone game like flip phone. And it was released in parts, and it's nearly impossible to emulate. I think I found a ROM for the first chapter once, but the cell phone emulators that were out at the time just couldn't do it. So yeah, if anybody out there has one of these, even though this is a Power Rangers morpher, if you've got one of these, a Japanese cell phone, give us your data.
Give us your data.
It's not the NSA. Give it to us. Yeah, because that's one. Because there's the only thing I've heard about that game is there was a translation of the text in the game, and people have dubbed it over. And that's the only thing I heard, because the cutscenes are out there on YouTube and stuff, but the game itself is not out. My pick for favorite obscure games is I love Rockboard. I just recently bought a totally legal multi-cart with a bunch of NES games for my NES. that has a translation of Rockboard. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it's for those of you who don't know but know me, it's basically Fortune Street with Mega Man, essentially. Or Monopoly, if you want to go that way. So I really like Rockboard. It's a fun game. Super Adventure Rockman is one I've always been interested in.
Oh yeah.
I am fortunate enough to have my PlayStation 1 modded, so I technically could play it with an English patch anytime I want. Let's Play maybe coming in the future, maybe review. I don't know. I'll decide if it's worth that kind of thing, but it's an obscure game I really like. And if I ever find that Chinese/Korean Mega Man PC game,
Mm.
I'll try to get that working, and I'll probably send the ISO to you in case you don't have it. So, but yeah, like just weird stuff like that. There's also a Rockman mobile phone game that's like it's like Rockman Dash or something like that. Not like Rockman Dash as in
Mm-hmm.
like Legends, but like Sonic Dash essentially. That I haven't played, but I want to try.
Oh yeah.
Another thing I wanted to ask you is thoughts on Rockman crossover.
All right. So the concept is neat. Okay, like all different Mega Man, different characters, like coming together for something, but just it was poorly executed, and it's just so cheap looking, and I don't know. Some of the designs are just like overly complicated, and the timing of the release of this thing couldn't have been worse.
Oh my god.
It's
Yeah, we
just
forgot to mention that got announced and released like after they canceled a bunch of Mega Man games. So the community was
yeah.
not nice to it.
No, no, they canceled the US release because of us.
So luckily, making a
Oh
Japanese
gosh,
Apple
yeah.
ID is not that difficult. So I played it and reviewed it twice. So it's it, it's one of those games it's one of those games that certainly existed. Um, good thing I didn't have a credit card on my Japanese Apple ID, or I probably would have sank money into it because that game's a money sink. And now it's not around. But
Yeah, it's
um,
gonna
is there
okay.
any obscure Mega Man knowledge you want to drop on everybody before we get to the question?
Yes, in the early '90s, Capcom licensed a ton of really weird Mega Man products like Mega Man deodorant, shampoo, and believe it or not, a retainer case.
I want them. Let's just go on to the questions, and I have a few here from the community. First and foremost, I've got my pal Jacato X, who I mentioned before, the bastard who got to play Mega Man Universe. Um, he he's a big fan of your site as well. And his first question is: with games like Super Mario Maker and other titles that let you create your own levels being popular these days, do you think we'll ever see another Mega Man powered up / Mega Man Universe like level creator ever again in the future?
Oh, absolutely, and I think things like Mega Man Maker really
Oh,
help
Mega Man Maker
convince
is good.
yeah, it helps convince Capcom that there is a demand for that, and, trust me, Capcom are very much aware of what we are doing in the fan community.
Mhm.
They're watching us. So, but yeah, like, Powered Up really proved that, eh, Mega Man is very much capable of having, like, a level editor, and there
Mhm.
are just so many creative people out there in our fan base that can come up with some really wicked stuff. Um and universe, that's so unfortunate what happened to it, but
Mhm.
fortunately, in my research, I did discover Capcom still have the patent for a lot of those editor tools,
Ooh.
yeah, that they were going to use for universe, a lot of the in systems. So as long as they have that, and as long as there's interest among fans, I think that's a path that they could pursue in the future.
Okay. Well, Daddy Capcom, if you're watching, please don't watch Mega Man. Like, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make all those dick jokes, but um anyways, okay, so another question that Jacato had was, what do
Mhm.
you think of Hitoshi Ariga? I don't know how to say that.
Yeah.
Mega Man Master Mix 1 Volume 1 coming in April. Do you think having the manga in color makes a big difference?
Oh, okay, like, I'm a huge fan of Riga's work, like, his interpretation of Mega Man is so cool, and it's just, like, so sad that we haven't had a game yet, like, with him
Mhm.
being the art director.
Uh,
Um, yeah.
I was just gonna say
It's
I got the pleasantry of meeting him at Fan Expo one year,
oh my
and
god, yeah.
I bought I can't remember which one it was. I bought one of the volumes I didn't have there when I met him, and he drew a little drawing for me in it too, and signed my copy of it. So it's around here somewhere. But
Oh, that's so
he
cool.
was really nice. He didn't understand a word I said, but he was really nice. Um,
Aw,
but
yeah.
yeah, I didn't even know that it was coming out in color. Now I gotta get it.
Oh yeah, it's the single issues are out, but they're putting out a compilation of I believe the first 4 issues in April. That'll be volume one. Yeah. The colors look amazing. He didn't do the colors, but he oversaw it. So it very much has his blessing and his handiwork in it, and it really it looks stellar. His black and white stuff is great, but I don't think I can go back after Master Mix.
Yeah, it's and the mangas are fantastic. Like
Yeah.
they're really good. I own I think all the Mega Mix and Giga Mixes. But and I've got one of the ZX mangas. I can't remember which one it was, but I have one of those, and yeah, they're great reading material. Probably the last mangas I bought in a long time, unless you count JoJo. But
Mm,
JoJo's great.
yeah.
So okay. So a less this is kind of a combined question from two people, and this is a less serious one. For my friends Kitsune Rokaku and Blonde Guy Gamer, how much wood would a woodman wood?
If a woodman could wood.
Yeah,
Hmm. I would say a lot of wood, big and heavy.
I would say leave him alone.
Oh my god, it's great. Leave him alone.
Oh man, it's I'll give one story. When I was making the characters for Megaman Abridged, and Megaman Abridged is based on the cartoon, the Ruby Springs one or whatever it's called.
Ruby Spears, yeah.
One, yeah, I remember like Gutsman. The joke I made for Gutsman literally was he was just the Juggernaut from the "I'm the Juggernaut, bitch" thing.
Oh
Cutman
god.
was the exact same as he was in the Ruby Spears cartoon. I literally did the voice and everything, and just used anything he said because it was all gold. And Woodman was basically DMX, and he wanted to be called Tree MX.
Oh my god. I need to go watch this.
I I I warn you, they're old. The editing is
Yeah.
terrible, and there's a lot of sexual humor. So
Okay.
if you ever find it, that's my warning. So and my comedy style is not the same now as it was back then. So there might be some risque stuff. I can't remember. Just a heads up if you go digging for it. Oh,
Forgiven.
so a question from another good friend of mine, Brother Kirby, who's a huge Mega Man fan, and actually funny story about him and Abridged stuff. He put together the first Mega Man Star Force Abridged, and I played Copper, who was obsessed with the Z Waves a little too much. And he's a longtime Mega Man fan as well, and we connected with it just like I did with Jacato. So,
Very cool.
so he has a few questions. His first one is what are your top 5 favorite Robot Masters?
Oh gosh. All right. Number one, without a doubt, is Tango Man. I I
Oh
love
my
it.
god, I love Tangled Man.
Yeah,
Feel my power.
exactly. It's so funny. Like these are all going to be from Mega Man 8, or at least most of
Okay
them
with
are.
that. They have the
Yeah,
most.
yeah.
They have a lot of personality. We'll say that
Oh yeah,
much.
they definitely do. Gosh, Tango Man, Sword Man, Search Man, like like two heads. It's so neat. Um, Ride Man and oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank. Starman.
Starman.
Starman's interesting because a lot of people consider it lame, but I don't know. It's kind of cool.
Starman's one of the few things I like about Mega Man 5 because he's just so damn fabulous.
Yes,
Um,
yes, he is.
but yeah, I have to agree with some of the choices from Mega Man 8. Tango Man's really cool. He was so cool they put him in
Hmm.
Mega Man Base, like for God's
Yeah,
sakes. But they also had Astro
yeah,
Man, and Astro Man's well, he's kind of like
he
so.
really is. Yeah.
Okay. Second question from him: have you played Mega Man Legends 2? And if so, did you do the mini quest that requires you to answer 100 questions?
Oh my gosh. Okay, great story for this. Yes, I have played Legends 2. I love Legends 2.
Me
Um,
too.
and I answered 100 questions, all of them as a kid, with my family helping me. they my parents,
Really?
the people that didn't like video games, whatever, they sat down and we got out like things like the word book, world book, and atlas, trivia books and all kinds of stuff, and they wanted to see it through to the end with me. Yeah, I
That
did do it.
that's really cool. That reminds me of a story. This is not Mega Man related. This is Donkey Kong Country related because my dad was into games when we got our Super Nintendo and when Santa brought us the Donkey Kong Country Super Nintendo bundle. He almost liked it more than we did. And when Returns came out, I didn't play it for a long time. But I find when I think I completed it when Tropical Freeze got announced or was coming out, because I said to myself, I won't get Tropical Freeze until I beat Returns. So I remember this moment where I was at the final boss and my dad could hear me like frustrated. He's like, he comes in the room, he's like, you're almost done Donkey Kong? I'm like, yes, I'm on the final boss. So he just sits there watching me. And then finally when I do it, I was like, yes, I did it. And we had jump high fived.
That's
So
awesome.
so he's and he got that for me for Christmas. So he knew that I was really excited about it. And just quick funny story. When Donkey Kong Country 2 came out, my dad wanted to get it for me and my brother for Christmas, but it was sold out everywhere. But Christmas Eve, like at 7 o'clock, he got a phone call from Zellers, which was a chain like Walmart in Canada, saying, "Hey, we've got a restock of Donkey Kong Country 2. Would you like us to reserve you one?" And he's like, "Hold on, I'll be right there."
Oh my gosh, that's
So
awesome.
at 9 o'clock at night, he goes and he has to pay an exorbitant amount for it because they up the price because it's a high demand game and stores did that.
Yep.
So he's like, he said when we opened the game, he's like, I spent $90 on that game. You better appreciate it.
You better beat it. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, and you better not let me have the Super Nintendo, or I will not be the only one playing it.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
Yeah, he used to play games back then, and I remember when he got me Returns for Christmas, I was like, please tell me you didn't go to Walmart or Zellers at 9 p.m. and pay $90 for this. He's like, he's like, no.
Ah,
He's like, I did that once.
never
but
again. Yeah.
yeah, basically never again. So back to the questions. Brother Kirby had another question. Actually, he has two more questions, but I'll get to this one. Favorite X armor from the X series?
Oh boy, I hate that question. um, God,
Shadow
Falcon
armor,
Armor. Yeah,
easy.
Falcon Armor.
Oh my god, Falcon armor is a
Yeah,
close second.
yeah. And you know what? Like, it was just very recently that I realized, oh my god, it's shaped like a falcon, like the chest and the. I
Yep.
never picked up on that before. So even
Actually, I have a piece of art. I liked Mega Man X5 so much. A friend of mine who's an artist, I had her design an armor that was a combination of all the Mavericks, like parts from the Mavericks, like the Skyver's wings and like what's his name? Squid Adler's arms and stuff. I have a drawing somewhere and I'll put it up, but I just love that game so much. And Falcon Armor was one of the reasons why I love that game. It's so useful.
yeah, that's all. Yeah, for real.
But yeah, Shadow Armor is my favorite. Not because I'm obsessed with ninjas, and also you can walk on the spikes and you can hold on to the ledge, but you can't.
Yep.
Yeah, but you can't air dash. So it's kind of a miss, but whatever. It's still cool because he's Mega Man's a ninja. So, all right. And the last question from Brother Kirby is: do you consider Mega Man X Command Mission canon?
um, no. There's just there's too much. The timeline is pretty solid. Very little wiggle room. Well, maybe a little bit before L4s. I don't know. What is it like 22XX and yeah. It's just I don't know. I can go into it in great depth later another time, but there's just too much that kind of contradicts what we have. And I believe there was an interview with the producer who pretty much flat out said it's kind of a what if game and shouldn't be looked at as part of the main X story.
Well, this might be a good article.
Yeah.
Myself personally, I always see it as after X8 sometime. Like that's the way I see it. I mean, the 22XX thing, I'm just like, they probably just put a number in there and didn't think about it. So I'm not
Right.
that
Yeah.
because I mean, for years it was 2000X, and then later Mega Man games it was 2000XX. So it's like, oh, it must have been a decade happened somewhere. So, um, but yeah, because it's not 2010. Like,
Right.
um, but yeah, it's though I have not completed command mission, so I'm not aware of the full story, but I know what you're talking about. There's some stuff in
Yeah.
there that's like kind of like, hey, you can put it here, you can put it here, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it makes it a little easier to put it later in the series because Axel's in it. So,
Right.
but yeah, so that was all the questions for Brother Kirby. The last question I have and this is another joke one from my friend Nightman39. How do
Okay.
you type with boxing gloves on?
How do you type with boxing gloves on? Is this some kind of Canadian Boxing Day joke? It's,
I
uh,
don't know, man.
um, you do your best. I don't know.
You do your best. Yeah, I think that's the right answer. So, um, but hey, yeah, that's the questions from the community. And anybody listening, if you would like to ask future guest questions, use the hashtag HunterBase Podcast. I pay attention to that hashtag all the time. You can at me or Canadian Jutsu, my usual partner in crime. So yeah, feel free to hit us up there. But now we're at the point of the podcast where it is time to talk about what you're working on. So I'll let you go first, Mr. Proto Dude. What are you working on?
Yeah, kind of like I touched on in the beginning of the recording, working on various Patreon projects to help acquire and preserve rare and or lost Mega Man pieces of history. I recently, with Patreon funds, I recently bought this rare Mega Man kite from 1992 that has this artwork on it that has never been seen before.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been, yeah, it hasn't been on the cover of any game, any book, nothing. It was very much, for all intents and purposes, made for this kite. So yeah, this weekend I'm hoping to take some glamour shots of it. See if I can find a scanner big enough to scan the thing.
Yeah, I
We'll
was gonna
see.
say if you can get a high res scan of the image, I want to put that in Photoshop and start doing stuff with it. So,
Yeah,
because that would be something like maybe like clean and even maybe do some cleanup work or recolor it or something. So we have like a modernized version of it or something like
yeah.
that. That'd be
I'll
a fun
uh,
project.
I'll play around with the scanner. Worst comes to worst, I can just take a bunch of pictures, edit it, whatever.
If
But
you have
yeah.
trouble, my main job is being an IT person. So
Oh,
hit me
that's
up with
awesome.
any technical questions. So that's awesome though. And by the way, like I know I said this earlier, I think it's really great what you're doing with your Patreon, that you're going for these relics of the franchise. Like even if you get a weird bottle of the weird stuff like the deodorant, like it's so cool that that exists and that
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
maybe like one thing that I'm personally excited for is maybe the chance of a prototype comes out in the ether, and you can use the Patreon funds to get it, because a lot of people like to say, hey, it's prototype here, let's add an extra $200 to the price tag of it.
Exactly.
So I
Uh,
think that would be great.
yeah.
That reminds me, I mean to ask you, do you have a means of dumping stuff if you get like a prototype raw cartridge or something like that?
I know how to personally dump PlayStation ISOs.
Yeah.
I have many associates that do know how to dump NES, Super NES, anything cartridge based. Uh,
Okay.
yeah.
If you yeah, because I was gonna say a friend of mine, Nintendo, he's a YouTuber who does obscure Nintendo stuff. He did a video on backing up N64 cartridges. So if
Oh,
anything like
cool.
that comes to Ether, I can get you in contact with him.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Please do.
he would know what to do with that. But yeah, like I like, and I mean that's one of the reasons why I backed you on Patreon. The whole reason this interview slash podcast is happening is because I asked him, like, would you be cool to be on my podcast? You're like, sure. So
Well,
and
thank you.
that's the thing. I'm always like, I always ask, because the worst somebody could say is no, because you could have said no and been like, I would be like, oh, that's the end of it, but I'm still gonna back him on Patreon. So
Yeah.
um eventually we'll up my pledge and working a new job, working my way up to my full salary. So
Awesome,
um
dude.
because I want to support what you're doing, because I think it's really great. It's great for the community. It's great for Mega Man history, because like so many things could become lost to time, and they already have. Um, God, now I'm going to be doing a witch hunt this weekend for that disc, so I can send you the data off of it and be like, does this mean anything?
Oh yeah, please do.
Yeah, if I find it somewhere, it's I don't remember how I got. I think I searched and searched and searched because I wanted to play it, and I found it, and I knew it wasn't a virus or anything because tech mumbo jumbo. So I knew it was a game, but I could never get it to run it. Probably because I was running a PC newer than it would work on, but still would.
Yeah, yeah.
At the time, I wasn't as technical on certain aspects, so that's I don't know, but yeah, I'll find it and I'll dump that and I'll send that to you because that's probably going to be a good piece. And anybody listening, if you are a fan of Mega Man or interested in its history, definitely check out the Rockman Corner. And on top of that, think about maybe throwing $1 or something Pro Dude's way because I mean you're getting at least $1.60 out of me because Canadian American exchange rates, but. And I'll be upping that as time goes on, especially because you've already posted a bunch of stuff recently with what
Oh
you've been
yeah,
money. And
yeah,
yeah, I mean, even before the Patreon, you were posting stuff like that you had found or have acquired. Like, and I think that's really cool. We need more of that.
yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
so, and do you want to talk? Do you want to go a little more in depth on your book, or have you basically said anything you can say on that?
That's pretty much all I have to say on it for now. I am working on another book that's going to talk about all these very obscure Mega Man games that a lot of people don't know about. Um, a lot of those like weird cell phone games. A lot of those officially licensed Korean Mega Man games, and even like some weird ports like the Mega Man 2 on the Tiger handheld watch. Like there's a watch version of Mega Man 2.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. So yeah, talking about all those things and making sure people know about them.
Yeah, I am. If there's anything obscure that I think you may have missed that I happen to have, because I have some weird stuff too, I'll send it your way because I want to
Awesome.
support those books. And probably when your books come out, I'll do a video on them to help get the word out because
Sweet.
I want more people to be into it, especially the Legends book. I think that one's going to be very important because I want more people to play
Yeah.
Legends.
Yeah. That
So
one's gonna take some time. It might be a couple years out the gate, but I want it to be as thorough as possible.
hey, take as much time as you need. I'm actually going to be delaying any review I do on the Legend series until it comes out because I don't want to miss something.
Oh, that's awesome.
so, so that's because so anybody wondering, yes, a Mega Man Legends review is coming probably after his book gets released. Because well, that was one of the reasons why I held off on Mega Man 8 for so long because I didn't play the Saturn version. And I couldn't emulate it or anything. And then my cousin, who's a collector, just so happened to say, "Oh yeah, I have Mega Man 8 on Saturn." And I'm like, "Why did you tell me?" so so he lent it to me and I did because that was one thing I noticed with a lot of people who reviewed Mega Man 8. They never talked about the content in the Saturn version, or they showed a screenshot. They
Yeah.
never actually played through it. I did a full Let's Play of the Saturn version, and it's Mega Man 8 is harder than I remember, but I got through it. So, but yeah, that's why I held off doing that one because I want to make sure I have as much information as possible because that's what people know me for. They know me for Mega Man, so I want to make sure I don't miss anything. Get a comment saying that I'm stupid. But yeah, the other thing I wanted to just mention real quick here is that is there anything particularly you're after right now in terms of Mega Man stuff that that you want to
Mm.
maybe back up and put into the community?
Yeah, I have two holy grails. The first one is what we call the White City Mega Man X prototype, and this was like the earliest version of Mega Man X that has like a completely different opening stage. And we first saw screenshots of it in Game Pro, and it was shown off at like Summer CES 1993. So it very much exists, or at once existed, in cartridge form. The second holy grail is Rockman Neo, and that is the earliest form of Mega Man Legends before it became Mega Man Legends.
Oh
And
yeah,
yeah, it's very very different. For example, like one of Tron's mechs has this very like cartoony like face on it, something right out of like a 70s anime. So I really want to get my hands on that.
that's
That
awesome.
was yeah, that was demoed at E3 1997. So hopefully someone has that somewhere. But those two, I am hunting. They are my white whale.
All right. Well, that's good to hear because I'm glad you're going for the really obscure stuff too, because that's something yeah, I'm always surprised at what you can find. And those two, I've actually heard of those two things before too that you mentioned. So I was like, okay,
Yeah.
good. He is really serious about it. Okay, not that I had any doubts, but
Oh,
this is what.
absolutely. Yeah.
So, just real quickly from my end for anybody watching, uh, Mega Man the Abridged game episode 3 is happening eventually. Just give me some time. Animation's hard. And New reviews are coming out. I just released my Galgun 2 review. Galgun 2 and Galgun DP. We were talking about indie crates a little bit in this. Go check that out. Obviously looking for more guests. If you have a suggestion for guests for the Hunter Base podcast, please let me know. And just con videos and stuff that I'm working on as well. Is there anything other than your Patreon or your website that you want to promote, or anything that you want to let people know about?
You just come visit my blog, Rockman Corner. You can find it at www.rockman-corner.com.
Hyphen's very important.
Yes, it is.
Or you can
I
just
lost
Google
the
Rock.
yeah, I lost the domain to rockman-corner.com several years ago because I forgot to renew it.
Oh man. Jeez, that sucks.
Yep.
But yeah, you can check him out on there. And of course, like I said, throw him a couple bucks to his Patreon. He's doing good work for us. So and you guys know where to find me. Speaking of Patreon, you can back me on Patreon if you want early access to this podcast and my reviews, as well as extra behind the scenes stuff. If you like obscure stuff, I got obscure stuff too. It's just behind the scenes of me making an ass of myself. And early access, and I'll eventually be adding Discord, Patreon exclusive stuff on Discord. So keep an eye on that. You could follow me on Zeromaster fan page on Facebook, Zeromaster on Twitter, and I stream Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time on Twitch at Zeromaster LP. My Let's Play channel, Zeromaster LP, review channel, Zeromaster Reviews, which you know because you're probably here. Podcast listeners, you can listen to us on Shout Engine and eventually iTunes when they don't let me in, and also other services coming soon. As well, the next episode of the podcast, I don't know what's happening, but we've got a couple of guests lined up. Proto Dude is one of many, so keep an eye out for that. And that's about it from my end. So, Brian, I want to thank you for coming out and sharing your time with us and nerding with me about Mega Man because
Anytime.
it was fun. And yeah, it's if I may have you on again at some time if you're available to talk about more stuff as things get revealed about Mega Man. And yeah, it's been an honor to speak with you.
Well, thank you so much. This was a blast. Thank you so much, man.
All right. Well, anyways, guys, thank you for watching or listening to the Hunter Base podcast. Again, I am Zeromaster, and with me tonight I had Proto. So thanks for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode. Goodbye.